Welcome back to Hard Truths, where we don't just talk about self improvement, we break it down raw and real so you can actually apply it. Today, we're hitting on something that most people experience but don't always admit: loneliness. And I'm not just talking about sitting in an empty room by yourself. You can be in a crowded space, surrounded by people, and still feel isolated. You can have a long list of contacts in your phone and still feel like no one truly gets you. Loneliness can either eat you alive, or it can be the thing that transforms you into someone unstoppable. It all depends on how you use it. I know this firsthand. There was a time in my life when I was completely alone, not just physically, but mentally. And let me tell you, the silence, it was loud. But in that loneliness, I learned something powerful. If you can sit with yourself, if you can harness that isolation instead of letting it break you, you actually come out stronger, sharper, and more capable than you ever imagined. So today, we're breaking down why loneliness hurts so much, how most people let it control them, and how to flip the script so that instead of breaking you down, it builds you up. Let's get into it. Why loneliness hurts so much, and the science behind it. Loneliness isn't just in your head, it's hardwired into your biology. Your brain is literally programmed to see isolation as a threat to your survival. See, back in ancient times, being alone meant you were vulnerable. No tribe meant no protection, no food, and no safety. Your brain remembers that, even if the world has changed. That's why loneliness doesn't just feel sad, it feels dangerous. A study from University of Chicago found that the chronic loneliness activates the same part of the brain that registers physical pain. That's why it physically hurts when you feel disconnected. That's why being ignored or feeling unseen can sting more than an actual injury. And here's the worst part. The longer you stay isolated, the deeper the impact. Your brain rewires itself to be on a high alert. You start overanalyzing interactions, assuming people don't like you, pulling back even more. You become hyper aware of rejection, even when it's not real. Loneliness becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. I've been there. There was a time when I was convinced that I was just meant to be alone. That maybe I didn't fit in anywhere. That people really didn't care. And once you start believing that, you stop trying. You stop reaching out. You let the loneliness become part of your identity. But here's what I need you to understand. Loneliness is not proof that you're broken. It's proof that you're human. And like anything else, it's something you can take control of if you choose to. Here's where loneliness gets dangerous. If you don't take control of it, it takes control of you. First, it messes with your mind. Studies from Harvard show that prolonged loneliness leads to higher stress, increased anxiety, and even reduced cognitive function. Your brain literally doesn't work as well when you're isolated. Then, it starts affecting your habits. You stop taking care of yourself, you sleep in later, you lose motivation. You start making excuses for why you're not improving. And before you know it, you spent months maybe even years, just existing instead of living. And finally, the worst part, you start believing loneliness is just who you are. You start thinking, I'm just not good at making connections. I've always been this way. I don't need anyone. But I'm here to tell you that's a lie. Loneliness isn't a personality trait. It's a temporary state. And once you realize that, you can start breaking free from it. So how do you turn isolation into an advantage? First, you need to shift your mindset. Most people see loneliness as something that's happening to them, like it's an external force they have no control over. But the truth is, loneliness is neutral. It's what you do with it that matters. Think about it. Some of the most successful people in history use solitude to their advantage. Bruce Lee spent hours alone training, perfecting his technique. Nikola Tesla used isolation to dive deep into his ideas, creating inventions that changed the world. And how about Steve Jobs? He took solo retreats, cutting out distractions to get crystal clear on his vision. They didn't see being alone as a punishment. They saw it as an opportunity to sharpen themselves. The key is learning the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is feeling abandoned. Solitude is choosing to be alone with purpose. When you're in solitude, you're not just sitting around feeling sorry for yourself. You're working, growing, pushing forward. You're reading, learning, leveling up your body and your mind. You're becoming the kind of person who doesn't need constant validation to feel valuable. And let me tell you, when you learn to be comfortable alone, you become dangerous. Most people can't handle silence. Most people can't sit with themselves without distractions. But when you learn to do that, you gain a level of self-mastery that puts you ahead of 99% of people. Listen, loneliness is a test, and how you handle it will define you. You can let it make you bitter, weak, and stuck in your own head. Or you can use it. You can let it teach you discipline, focus, and self-reliance. You can turn silence into a space for growth, clarity, and transformation. The question is, who are you going to become in this season of isolation? Are you going to let it break you? Or are you going to use it to build yourself into something unstoppable? The choice is always yours. And that's it for today's episode of Hard Truths. If this hit home for you, don't just sit on it. Act on it. Ask yourself, how have you been using your solitude? Is it making you weaker or stronger? I want to hear from you. DM me, tag me, or drop a comment on Twitter. How have you turned loneliness into growth? And if you found this valuable, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay strong, stay sharp, and keep pushing forward.